you know, a lot of local artists.
Yeah.
They'll come up and they want to know how can they make it. I mean, you're from San Diego.
Right.
You made it. What did you have to do in the beginning, and what exactly does it require?
It takes a lot of labor. It takes a lot of labor. Like, you really think people think that it's the easiest thing to do just because you have a record out and, you know, you're releasing it independently and, you know, wow, I can go to a radio station and get it played. It doesn't work like that. It's really, you know, more about networking at the same time and you know, just putting yourself out there. I think the more you perform, either if it's a local show or anywhere outside of your city, you allow yourself to be seen more in front of people, and, you know, you can create a fan base that way, you know, followers. And
it takes a lot of your own money at first too, right?
It takes a lot of,
because you have to travel.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot of course, you know, traveling in your own car. Sometimes, you know, paying for your own gas, and, you know, that's money out of your pocket, or staying at a hotel that you have to, you know, you can't, sometimes you got to stay the night somewhere in order for you to go out there and work and, you know, just, you know, spend some of your own money. But it takes a lot of time. It's not as easy as people think it is. I mean, again, it's a network thing, and investing in your own time and in your own events sometimes. So, you know, of course, you got to have a group of people that'll help you at the same time, and sometimes a lot of those people aren't going to do it for free.
Right.
You know?
No. Yeah, that's true. That is true. And another thing, you know, what else is a good point I wanted to make is, a lot of people would be like, you know, all my friends say that I'm the next big thing, and I'm just like, you kind of want strangers to do that, right?
Well, you know, anyone could say, oh, I got a smash for you, and you're gonna, you know, be huge with this record, but that's just people talking. I mean, that's just people telling you, like, you should do this, you should do that, and I mean, in all honesty, I think you just really gotta focus on yourself and you know, again, it goes into investing. You know.
But when did you know you had the? When did you know? When were you like, you know what, Francisco?
You know,
you've got talent, damn it. You better pursue this.
I was 18 years old when I left my house.
Okay.
I left to another state, Texas, and not knowing what was gonna happen. I didn't know anybody. It was just one person that decided to fly me out. And to go do this, you know, teenage performance, you know, teenage club, and a teen club thing, and I went, and I loved Texas so much that I just called my parents and said, I'm not going home. I'm staying.
Wow.
And I had to literally go out of, just, you know, really go out of my way and try to make ends meet, and I got a regular job in this city. It was in Austin, Texas.
Right.
I was working as a stock boy at this shoe store, women's shoe store called Baker's.
Wow.
And I was making literally like $87 a week, and I just said, you know what, I love music so much that I'm just gonna take my time and do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't waste no time, and that's how I started getting to know a lot of people. And I was performing in Dallas. You know, Dallas and Austin are not that far away. I was performing in San Antonio. Austin and San Antonio are not also, you know, that's probably like an hour and a half away from Austin.
Right.
So everything was kind of close, and a friend of mine actually was driving me everywhere. And luckily I was able to stay at his house, and with his family and stuff, they actually, you know, they took me in. But still, it took for me to leave. You know, I didn't, you know, it took for me to actually make
get
that
out of
decision.
your comfort zone, get out of the place you grew up.
And I didn't have money. I didn't have any money. Back then I was broke. I was pretty much just on my own, just working at this Baker's shoe store. And luckily I started meeting a lot of other people, and then all of a sudden I met this one guy. His name was Charles. And he ended up getting me an audition for this group called the Cumbia Kings. And the Cumbia Kings, you know, they were established out in the state of Texas, and then through A.B. Quintanilla, which is Selena's brother.
Right, okay.
And we started touring. All of a sudden, you know, he loved my audition. And
you went by Cisco then, right?
I went by Cisco at the time. And you know.
Like I said,
we do
I had
our
my
research.
Yeah, I had my friend
That's
Hal
my
over
job.
here.
You know what I mean? And it was great, but at the same time, it took a lot of me to take chances. I didn't know what was going to happen, you know.
Well, you were definitely kind of going in there just thinking, okay, I need some kind of way to get my face out there with established band, but you knew that you were gonna break apart, right? You knew that you wanted to do it on your own.
I mean, as soon as I walked into that whole, establishment, I knew that I was gonna do my own thing after the fact, because that's what I always wanted to do, and that's what I was always so driven, about doing my own solo thing. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the business. I learned a lot about being in front of, crowds and not being shy, not being scared to try different things. And, because it was a whole entire Spanish band. I was singing Spanish music, cumbias.
Right.
And, every now and then we would do like English stuff and do some pop R&B. But within that time, I was investing in my own equipment, buying, keyboards and speakers and computers and all that stuff. And I was living in a one-bedroom apartment by myself. I was just living on my own. And then, I've always been a writer. I've always been someone that has always written my own material. So I started writing a lot, songs. And all of a sudden, one came out of the whole bunch. And this was a song called Don't Wanna Try. And that's what got me my deal with Columbia. So, again, going back to like the local artists that are in San Diego, my advice to them is just to, invest in their own projects and not only stay in San Diego, but try to travel outside, because if you try to stay in one place, you're only going to be known in this particular area. It's always good to try to go to LA, Hollywood.
I think it was because you moved away that, you gained recognition from, like I said, strangers. You went to Texas, you knew no one, you know what I mean? And it's not like you could say, hey, come to the club so it looks like I have fans. You know what I mean? Like, it was more so just you being like, all right, fine, I'm going to perform.
Yeah, it was tough for me to leave my family. I told my mom, and my mom was like, what? You're not coming home? When it comes to Latin families, man, and, moms in the Latin families, man, they're always like, what's going to happen to my mijo? And, I can't believe he's out there by himself, And at the time, I was already a young adult. So I was looking out for myself and, trying to make a living out of my own, So it was
you
tough,
don't seem jaded at all by the, like when you were talking about, you learned the business and you learned the ins and outs. You don't seem at all jaded by the whole thing. A lot of artists kind of feel like, it's
tough. You get screwed along the way, but that doesn't. It's not a.
But you learn to bring lube with you.
Yes, you learn. Exactly. You learn, and I think the most important thing is that you just have to look forward. You got to look towards the future. You can't think of the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't. Well, no, because the moment's always gonna feel real good, and it's gonna be like, all right, this is great, and then
people are always out to get you somehow in some way.
Yeah.
And you always got to keep that in mind, but you always got to be ahead of the game. And of course, when you're barely coming up in the industry, you're bound to get screwed.
Right.
Because you don't know all the ins and outs. I still don't know everything. I'm still learning as I'm going.
Right. But there's a lot to gain from being in this whole process of.
Yeah. There's a lot of great things that can happen, and it's all about staying positive and again knowing, networking, getting to know people, meeting different people in the business so that they can help you along the way, because you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah,
there's no way.
I'm so glad you stopped in here because, like I said, I've seen you before.
Thanks for having me.
I've seen you perform, locally, and I don't think I got to see you when I was in Hawaii. I don't know if
I've been in Hawaii a few times. We did a few shows out there that were great shows, man.
Yeah.
Great shows. I love Hawaii.
Well, I knew you when I was in Hawaii. I've heard of Frankie J in Hawaii, but it was here that I actually saw you. But this is different. I saw you on stage.
It's a whole other level.
It is. It's amazing. You've gained once again, like Robin Thicke gained me. You've gained me.
That's awesome.
As a fan. I'm tripping out. Like, wow, you're really, really talented.
Well, thank you very much. Like I said, I think it's always best when you hear the music live and in person, and it's not so much the radio or you hear the songs on the radio. I think it's great. For me, to get really more into the feel of things, I have to hear it live. I have to. I guess that's just been me since the very beginning. Like, if I hear stuff on the radio, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But I'm always, curious to see what it's going to sound live and if the actual artist can really, really bring it out live. And if it sounds better live than it sounds on the radio, that's it for me.
Well, I'm a big fan of R&B and that type of music. So I go out and I saw Keisha Cole, I saw John Legend, I went out and saw Robin Thicke. Every time those type of artists come by.
Robin Thicke is amazing. Great
amazing, but you are amazing.
Thank you.
And I know I'm making the head big in here. We're not gonna be able to fit in here with Frankie's head.
Man, no, it's not like that.
Seriously, like you really are. I mean, I'm in awe, and I'm actually really honored that you came by.
Well, thanks for having me. I mean, this is an honor.
And make sure you give us an exact date once you get the exact date, because seriously, we're all tight on money these days, but I will take money out of my pocket and buy your album.
Christmas is around the corner, but you get the single first.